Right, let's try it.
37th take.
Oh, welcome to the My Social Podcast with Joe and Jane. Gosh darn it. This is how I'm going to start the podcast.
This is our podcast. We do what we want with it.
The rules of the Mindly.Social podcast are you don't talk about the Mindly.Social podcast.
Wait, no, we want people to talk about us. That's how podcasts work.
1, 2, 3, 4.
How are you doing, Joe?
I am doing good, Jane. How are you doing?
Looks really beautiful. I thought you said you had a topic to talk about today. So what's your topic?
I do, and oddly enough, the joke that you just made is a good segue into that topic where you said be Henry Cavill. My topic for today is people were asking about what reasons for having accounts on different servers and having alt accounts and stuff like that. And I always thought it was kind of weird to have multiple accounts. And then I just started making accounts on different servers and I was like, oh, this kind of makes sense. So I wanted to talk about like why people do it. And I have a couple accounts like all over the place because I was looking at different servers and I was like, okay, these look really interesting. I like the topics forum and stuff like that. And I joined them and I was looking at the local feeds and I was like, wow, this is a completely different experience than what I'm used to. That was my main reason for wanting to start creating accounts on different servers and whatnot. I know that you jumped around a little bit, but do you have any kind of alt accounts out there? You don't have to like reveal who they are or anything, but...
Well, I mean, I have the Choose Your Own Adventure account. That's really the only extra account that I have, but I do know that landing on a different instance is a completely different experience.
Mm-hmm.
Having moved from one instance to other instances, like you can have the local feed can be completely empty in one place and it can be completely buzzing in another place, and it's a completely different experience.
Yeah, and the local feed will be different topics, different...
It's just a different feel.
Yeah, it's got a vibe to it. It's unique to that server, basically. Even if, like, say, you go to an art server or like a photography server or something like that. Okay, yeah, they talk about art, they talk about photos, but like the feel of the local timeline, it's a lot different in my opinion. For me, I've also realized that when I'm on different servers under different accounts, even though most of my accounts are still named Cujo, I treat them differently than I do when I'm on my Mindly.Social Cujo account. I engage in topics that I normally wouldn't engage in. I'll just go with that. Like, I do not deal with politics normally. I don't deal with any kind of religious or anything like that usually, but I'll be more vocal on an account that has less followers on a server that's more geared towards that conversation, I guess.
Do you think that your mental health is affected by where you are in your social media?
Definitely, yeah. When I do get to that point of like, oh man, I'm about to argue or there's some conflict going on, like this is getting, more complicated than I want it to be, I'll just log off that account and I'll go on my Mindly.Social account and I'll be like, oh, here we go. I can relax now. Like I said, each local feed is a different vibe and some of them are very high energy. Some of them are more relaxed and I just jump back and forth depending on my mood at the time, I guess.
And I'm trying to mute this vocal because a lot.
That's called active listening though.
I am an active listener, Joe. I do a lot of active listening.
I don't want to, I'm going to change the topic.
Okay.
Because I have a question now regarding this active listening thing. And I sometimes treat the favorite button like active listening. For example, last night somebody was having a really rough time on a different server and I honestly had no idea how to respond to it because it was something that I had no experience with. I had no insight into. So like the only thing I could do was hit that favorite button and like give them the star.
I get it.
And I treated that as like you're seen. I'm acknowledging that you exist.
There's not like a whole lot you can do when you can't jump into the conversation. So
yeah.
You just hit the favorite button as like a way to say, I see you, I hear you, I acknowledge you, but I can't do anything about it.
But I mean, sometimes people just want to be seen. That's an important thing for some people, is just to be heard, even if it's, by a stranger.
I get it. The favorite button is kind of a utilitarian thing. It has a lot of uses.
And it's funny because a lot of people who are new to Mastodon look at that favorite button and they go, this is so useless. There's no point in this being here. And I think it's one of the most important things on Mastodon.
Yeah, the people who say that the favorite button is useless really don't understand the favorite button.
Mm-hmm.
It has so much more to do with the website then they understand. I know that the Explore page counts not just the number of boosts, but it also counts the favorites as well.
Yeah, it definitely has some actual like impact, and it's a lot better than an algorithm in my opinion. I like how I just like glossed over the alt and having multiple accounts thing. I thought that conversation was going to go a lot longer, and I'm like, wow, I really don't have much to say about that. I just thought it was interesting.
Ben suggested that we talk about the things that can happen with post ownership.
Okay, that's a
whole topic.
Sounds like a very deep topic. Okay.
This is what he said. I think a good number of people might be surprised at how much freedom is actually required to run a federated site and where their posts can end up.
That's a very deep topic because like it literally posts could end up anywhere, and the way that the federated services work, like even though we have post visibility options, you still don't have a whole lot of control over what happens once you hit that publish button or Toot button if you're still on mobile. But
when it comes to post ownership, who actually owns the post?
I think this comes down to some legal stuff that I'm not really knowledgeable enough to comment on. But I think that it all depends on like the terms of service of the server that you're on. For example, Facebook is able to go, any pictures you post on Facebook, we own those. We can use them in our advertisements, stuff like that. Mastodon, probably the same way, where it's one of those things where you definitely want to be on a server that you trust and trust that the admin and the staff are not going to misuse your information.
Oh, I mean, the basic idea is you don't want to put anything on a server that you wouldn't want somebody to mishandle.
Basically, yeah. And that's why I think that a lot of people have been going to the self-hosting option, where it's just the server they run at home or something like that, and they have full control over everything that's, on that server, which that's, really freeing for a lot of people.
So basically you're saying that you really don't own what you put on Mastodon. Not really.
I'm going to be honest, I'm using the default privacy policy that Mastodon has out there, which I'm pretty sure does state that, you own everything you post, like the images you post are yours. Any words you post, those are yours also. But even if I was to follow those to the T, I have backups of all of the data that's on the server. I keep backups going back quite a ways. That's, definitely something to consider. Is just because you delete it off of, a server that says you own it, doesn't mean that it's going away.
So even if you have like auto deletion, it could still be in the backup.
Exactly, yeah.
That's fascinating. So the data could just be sitting out there, even though you've deleted it.
I actually got an email and they're like, hey, I was on a different server and the server shut down while I was out of town. Can you go into the cache on your server and pull any posts that I've made that your server saw? I was like, that's a weird request. I was like, can I do that? And I was able to only find 13 of their posts or whatever, but Mindly.Social caches other servers' posts for 30 days. So even if the server gets deleted, the posts are still going to be out there until that cache gets wiped for other servers. That's how Mastodon works.
It's like, how they say everything on the internet is kind of forever?
Yeah.
It's so true. And it's scary. It makes you want to double check what you put out there.
Yeah, not only double check what you're putting out there,
I mean, even if they delete it, there's still archiving websites out there.
Yes. Archive.org joined Mastodon, I think, last year. And a lot of people were like, oh no, they're going to archive the whole metaverse. And they're like, no, we're not doing that. We're just participating. We're not scraping websites or anything like that. But there are services out there that are just saving every post. And it's something that people need to be aware of also.
It's just one of those things where you just kind of have to watch what you put on the internet. There's just no fighting it. That was a fascinating conversation.
That was a scary conversation. Like, there are a lot of concerns out there, and man, it is a scary thing if you're not prepared for it, because a lot of people don't realize this stuff is happening.
Targeted advertising is so scary.
Yeah.
It watches and listens to you.
For me, the targeted advertising isn't the scary part. It's the fact that people don't realize it's out there, and that's a thing.
Yeah.
Totally unrelated, but for my birthday 2 years ago, my parents bought me a shirt that had born on and then the date of my birth and then the year of my birth. And I was like, that's too much information for me to just like
put out there.
Have out there. Like,
did they put your social security number on the back? Did I ever tell you about the time I got scammed?
No, tell me about the time you got scammed.
So, okay, well, there's this gas company that comes around and they pretend they are like sanctioned by our gas company, but they're not. and they'll like come and they'll like bully you at like 8 p.m. They'll come knocking on your door. They'll like really fast talk, and then they'll bully you into signing some paperwork. And then all of a sudden you're part of their program.
Okay, so do they have like they got the clipboard? Yep. They got the little lanyard
yep.
with the badge on it, and then they'll have a shirt that says your local gas company's name, but it's just a regular shirt that anybody can buy. Okay, yeah, we have that here for solar, but it's not sanctioned by the power company.
So they caught me on a bad night, and I signed the paperwork. And
oh no!
Yeah, because I was like, what? I was out of it.
Yeah.
And so I go downstairs and I sign the paperwork. My boyfriend was so mad at me because he's like, how did you get scammed? And I'm like, I don't know. They were so mean.
You were bullied into being scammed. That's scary.
Well, they were a lot, right?
Yeah.
And so I called the lady, and the lady tried to bully me again, but I was much more prepared for her this time, and I got out of the deal. And
wow.
So then a couple weeks later, we get a knock at the door at like 8 p.m. It's them again. This time my boyfriend is there, and so he goes downstairs, and this guy is twice my boyfriend's size. And my boyfriend said, I understand why you got scammed. They were so mean.
He almost signed the paperwork, didn't he?
He almost signed the paperwork. Because the guy was like pretty intimidating. And like
wow, that is insane.
Yeah, the guy was like almost fought my boyfriend over the gas paperwork.
Oh my god. At that point, you just like don't answer the door anymore. Have a sign that says, we do not answer the door after 8 o'clock.
No soliciting.
Oh, we have 3 of those signs, and then when they still knock on the door, it's so annoying.
Can't you shoot them?
I mean, it's probably legal in Florida these days, but
I was like, don't you have that power down there?
I mean, I have thought about like fencing in my front yard and then just keeping an alligator in there and like let nature handle the solicitors. Oh my gosh, we're all over the place in this episode.
Do you want to do the Toot of the week?
That was so amazing. What is your Toot of the week? You get to go first this time.
It comes from Breakfast Golem at Goblin.camp. And it reads, the plot chickens.
What? The plot chickens. Oh.
Plot chickens.
Oh my gosh, I should have went first because now my brain is broke. Wow, and that is the type of toot I would expect from Goblin.camp. I've only seen that domain a few times, but every time it's little gold nuggets like that. So my Toot of the week is actually a thread. It was posted by @MaddieMagic, and that's on Mindly.Social, which most of mine come from. And I'm not going to read all of the posts, even though it's only like 4 or 5. But the first one starts off with, what if we stopped pretending that we could do everything on our own? And what if we opened ourselves up to giving and receiving help? And then it's a thread regarding, that kind of mentality. I picked this one mainly because this kind of mindset is what, like, things that I think about a lot. And I never really put into words really well. And they did a really good job of it. So
lovely.
I know. It legitimately made me cry when I read it. I was like, those are words that I think of, and somebody else said them.
Aw, Joe. That's sweet.
I just realized we're recording a podcast and I said that out loud. But I stand by it. No, I even said in the reply to the thread that I cried about it. So
that's sweet.
Anybody who sees it will know that I cried. So now you all know.
Aw. Well, I mean, nobody's going to make fun of you for crying. But I cry when I see trash on the side of the road. Oh, dear.
Oh my God, are we going to end this episode on an emotional note? Like, we're all just going to cry?
No. I won't allow it.
Okay. Good news that, we don't have time for Henry Cavill. I'm sorry.
Oh, I guess I will cry. I cry all the time when I don't have Henry Cavill.
What if Henry Cavill littered on the side of the road?
Oh, he's forgiven. It's okay, Henry. I got this one. You get one free one. You know what, Henry? Whatever you want to do, I'm cool. And that's the podcast.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you for listening to the Mindly.Social podcast with Joe and Jane. The music of the Mindly.Social podcast is brought to you by Pixabay. The intro music is Energetic Hip Hop by Skillcell. The background music is Jazzy Abstract Beat by Coma Media. You can find us on Mastodon. Joe is at Mindly.Social /@Cujo. Jane is at Mindly.Social /@Janie. Thank you again and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
They have like t-shirts that are always targeted towards like forklift drivers. And it always says like, this shirt belongs to a forklift driver who was born in September, is a Virgo, and would kick your butt.